Okay, so it's 5:40, so I haven't opened up. It's super dark out still. It's already starting to kind of change too. Like in the evening here. Well, the weather is just so weird. Like in the but in the evening it's starting to get dark earlier again. It just is like so weird how it's like we're moving through this stuff so fast, except for winter. Like winter is so drug out. It's like we're rushed to hurry and get to it again. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Jesus Christ. And the let me think. There are so many things. That's why I was when she woke me up, or when like around 3 or something, and then I was trying to go back to sleep, but my brain was just I was just seeing way too much stuff. I was like, I'm just gonna get up. Um, so anyways, there's a bunch of stuff. Uh, so I'm just gonna see, because there are certain things I wanted to explain that I could see. One of the things, so let's start with this one, is because the Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and that guy was off of Jane the Virgin. I loved that guy. Um, I liked that show, and I liked that guy. That was a whole little like love triangle thing that went on in that show. But I didn't. I mean, there's so many actors and stuff. I don't always. Sometimes I can recognize who they are off of other things, but I don't know. I didn't recognize him, but I recognized him as knowing he was an actor, seeing like I've seen him in something, but I didn't put it together. But so, anyways, um, and there's more and more coming out of like what a nice guy he is. And he was the one who bought the rights to the movie to or the book to make it into a movie, and he was the one who was doing the directing. And then uh, Blake steps in, and it seems like she's, I don't know, like everything you see about her, she just seems like this typical mean girl. Just like, oh, it's so, ugh. Like even in the real world, where there's mean girls at high school or college or work or whatever, there is a cause and effect. They usually see the error of their ways. These people who get themselves on a pedestal and then surround themselves, it's like they're trying to create themselves into being aristocrats, to be separate from everybody else. But what happens when you separate yourself from everybody else? You become separate. And so this is, we're going to see some of this stuff play out. But that is like a certain level right there, is this understanding of the separation that occurs when you try and make yourself better than other people. And then we can see it playing out. We're going to watch it. And I mean, it's already was going with J-Lo. It just is like one actor after another. And what's kind of funny too is because people are so down on Blake Lively for not doing these certain things, but her not doing them has created everybody else to do them. So really, her bad behavior has brought everyone else together in unity, and everybody else talking about domestic violence and people telling their stories, all sorts of stuff. So it's bringing this platform. So there where you think like certain people are only doing bad things, that's where you got to see like, yeah, but what comes after? Like, yeah, she selfish, rude, whatever, all of her things, which that is her things. That is where she's putting things back into balance of her own life. So it could have been that she, and this is just could be, this isn't for sure. This is just to give a point of reference. But so say she in a past life that she was ostracized and she was treated poorly. And so then she is rebirthed into an opportunity to see what she does with a certain circumstance. And then that is where a lot of times when you go to your life review, you see like you continue these patterns that you were in judgment of for somebody else doing to you, but then you turn around and do it the same thing. So you have that. And then a lot of times too, you go through a life pattern and then you see the the aftermath, you see the reluctance keeps coming in my head of the it's like the cause and the effect. And so the things that you do, you see how it how what the outcome, the effect that it has on people. And so that's another thing, like when you come in and you play these different roles to counterbalance the ones that you've already done. So there's these shifts. So she has her own things going on with that stuff in the soul programming world, soul world. And so in her running her program of her role or whatever, that she's here to uh, it's like a transference of energy from a past life into this one to clean out the cobwebs of the experience. And so then she goes through the experience to get this other way. And see, this is where you show yourself who you are, and this is a spirit of time, because she is, you know, trying to get people on her side, like that right there. You know, that's very dysfunctional, it's very toxic, it's very immature, it's not developed, it's like all the things that you would expect from somebody that lives a life of leisure, who can't handle any kind of interference, any kind of conflict. You know, it's they're handicapped to be able to that's why it's like such stages of development. You're developing when you go through things, because they become handicapped because they don't know how to deal with things. And there's even like all these hiring of teams and stuff. Well, you know what? It really hit me this morning. Nobody's chewing on. What really hit me this morning too was acting, music, art, because galleries and stuff, all of that stuff, I was just like, I just all of a sudden saw the control that they had over all these things. You know, how many artists there are in the world, and it's an ordeal to get into a gallery. You know, people who wanted to do acting, look at what happened. People who wanted to do music, look what happened. They created so much toxicity around creative outlets. So where we would go and get in touch with ourselves through creativity, then they came in to manipulate all of those avenues. I was like, oh my gosh. Because how many artists were put off by that? How many musicians have been put off? How many singers? How many actors? You know, it's crazy, but that is very controlled in a negative way to keep us from being able to be creative and stuff. And it's weird how like Blake, you know, this aristocrat type, you know, she seems like, you know, she would be sitting there with Marie Antoinette, you know, let him eat cake, and she'd be like, oh yes, you know, she didn't give a fuck. She her and J-Lo, like, and I'm sure there's tons of these people showing this side of what happens to people. And you know, we can witness, we can see, and see like that's, you know, that's so toxic, so toxic. And it's so like I said, it keeps you become more isolated. You don't have any true friends, you don't have any true connections. And so, and then on another level too, it's curious to see with Ryan and her, because that is also another level in the soul story, in the soul journey, is these complex relationships, especially when there starts being things thrown at them, you know, when it starts getting heavier and heavier. And apparently Ryan Reynolds and Scarlett Johansson, the reason they broke up is like he didn't like the competition. So he doesn't like work competition. You know, he wants a partner supposedly who is more stay home, which she had been doing a lot. Like she hasn't been in a lot of stuff, like a movie here or there. And then apparently, I guess the people who follow her say she's just the same character in every movie anyways. She never changes it up because that's just who she is. But now she's coming out and saying like she had to control this, she can't just go in and act. She can't just put on some clothes and then someone hand her a script and her go in and pretend to be somebody else. No, she's got to control it. She's got to be, her. She's got to have what she would wear and all this stuff. So she started taking control. So she became a producer on the movie, and so she started controlling certain things in the movie where this conflict. So he kind of stepped back apparently, and she started doing a lot of the directing. And but what it seems to be is that she's the one with all of the money backing. She's the big name or whatever. And it seems like he wanted her in the movie or something. Or did he get funding to make it and they said, okay, well, this is who you're putting in it. Like, you don't know what goes on in these backroom, these deals with these money people. Like, they take on control. Like there's stories, where people put out stories or whatever, and then they want to change them. I just saw this in a movie. What was that? It was a movie where a guy was writing a story. Oh yeah, it was an old movie, and it had Andrew McCarthy, and he was writing a story. He was a journalist, and he was in New York, and he had written some stories, and some gangsters had gotten pissed, and so they wanted to control him, and they killed somebody. So he wanted out of that. He wanted to just go write books. So he goes out to Hollywood, starts writing this book, and he's got his friend who's always, because he has all these stories of these with these gangsters. And so he goes out and he starts making a movie. Well, the CIA, the Hollywood people, they wanted these gangster, they wanted these true gangster stories and stuff. And he was trying to put out a certain story, and they said no, they wanted violence, they wanted this, they wanted that. And that's the same kind of stuff they've done in the music. Yeah, we'll put you ahead, but we want this, this, and this. And so they make people have to, you have to decide what you're willing to do for money and fame and, what it is you're seeking, because they are going to make you jump through hoops. And so anyways, so I don't know, how it all came about, how she ended up in the movie, and they don't get along because apparently there's like none of her friends nobody likes her off Gossip Girl. Nobody likes her. Like she leaves a reputation of this. Like, and then there's even speculation as like he hired the PR team of Johnny Depp when the Amanda Heard thing went down, and so now there's all this stuff being leaked out about Blake, all these old interviews and stuff, and so they're like, is this the PR team is making sure that people have an awareness of who we're dealing with there, but Blake and Ryan have big backers. They have money people on their side. And that's why I'm saying that when you have all that you're a sellout. You're willing to do whatever it takes to have money or fame or whatever it is that they are offering, that you'll do whatever it takes. And so that is, kind of what's being exposed here. But then also on this soul level between the two of them, it's kind of like, is he going to go with her through all of this stuff? Like, so far he's released some statement trying to make like a joke or something, like, about a witch or whatever, and like the media is going after her. It's like she's going after him. And not only that, she's got like the author, which that girl seems to be just like brown noser, just like, oh, I want to be friends with Blake Lively and Taylor Swift, like I'm one of their girls. It's like they're just using you for one thing. These people are just like, like J-Lo, like don't look at me kind of people. And so, as soon as this movie thing would be over, so I would imagine, she wouldn't be calling you so much anymore. They're only going to take people who they think are, them, who are at their level and stuff. And this author's getting slammed, man. Is that, not being a good author. There was lots of people moved by the book. And it's weird too, like, okay, Blake, if you never experienced any kind of thing about domestic violence, and then you had to change the character to be, and then you have to promote the movie to be a rom-com. You're not even making an established effort of the dysfunction in the relationship of this couple. You're trying to make like it's fun and good looking guys and stuff. And just her whole presentation, the stuff she's wearing, the stuff she's saying. And she must be getting, because then she went on Instagram and said something about domestic violence, but it was still just such a, probably somebody else had to write it for her, probably a PR person or something. And but the thing is you could just take it serious, and you could hire, like, there's so many people out there to speak out about it. There was people even just saying, oh, her dress, like she wore some dress, I don't remember what the thing was, but they're like, there's so many designers out there who have experienced domestic violence and brought themselves up and, you know, turned their life around themselves and started doing well. And that's like with the kind of stuff you can promote, like, oh, I'm wearing this girl, just like sharing people's stories to give people hope, because the people who are in those situations, it's hopeless. Like, I'm telling you, you just feel like you're fucked, man. It's hard to get yourself out of it. And then especially when you've spent your life being beat down and stuff, it's very difficult. You know, like I said, I was fucking depressed. I just wanted to drive off the side of a mountain. I was so depressed. I just couldn't figure out, especially when you think like, this is the person who loves me, and they don't like me, they don't respect me, they don't, you know, there's so much stuff. But that all has to do with like your lessons and your stuff for you to see, so you can pull yourself free from the control of somebody else. And, you know, it's very complex. The people are in there in very complex patterns of reality. And so, okay, because I have a bunch of things coming to my head in just a second. So so anyways, now to see like if Ryan is going to, like, how this is going to play out, because there's like people who they can't stand him now. Like, their supporters, the people who liked him, are turning on him, and they're just like showing this side of themselves, and it's showing this side of themselves like while other people have been awakening this side, and theirs is, you know, stagnant or something. But it's because it's a part there. Everything is so perfect for everybody's experience, and everybody's playing all these different things. So some of these people are playing these roles to create these certain situations. But like I said, it's just so complex, because it also is beneficial to them because it plays out their other stuff, and then you have these different relationships playing out. Like, I'm saying that everybody's stuff is so intricate, it's so elaborate, and it is so convoluted. It's so complex. And so and there's so many different levels of what's going on. And so anyways, there's all of that stuff that is showing these different kind of levels, because whatever between him and his wife, like, that could go back to, you know, them always abandoning one each other when something's going wrong or something, like that's what and then when they don't, then they've crossed over, they've done something different than they did in past lives, and so then they you know, they've grown, they've done something. So all these different lives too can push you into these growths. So that is why, you know, that they go the way that they go. But then that's why, you know, it may not be the first time you go through something that you catch on. It could be life after life after life. Like, that was something that hit me one time when somebody was talking about suicide. And I was like, you got to get through this. You just got to push through. Because I feel like every time in a certain point when things are hard in your life, that is the choice you make. and you run out on it, you abandon it, and this is your opportunity to push through it. So everything is your opportunity to push through it, especially when you have this hard drive inside of you. It's like, oh, I just gotta do this. I just gotta, go murder somebody. I just gotta murder myself. I just gotta, tear shit up. Whatever it is that you feel super motivated to do is probably because that's your pattern of what you've done in past lives. And so you want to have that awareness and break through those patterns so that you learn the next lesson. So you get out of this toxic thing that you've created that you don't even have awareness of. And these are real. Like, go and listen to, like I've said, go listen to people talk about past life, what are those things called? Like reincarnation, past life, whatever they are. And there's different people. It's not just like Dolores Cannon, but she has a bunch of books and stuff. But there's other people who are doing those QHHTs and BHQs and stuff on people, and then they're putting the videos out so you can listen to them. Lifetime has even done a thing about talking to people on, I think theirs was, because theirs was cool because it was hypnosis, and then they talked to the people about their past lives, but then they went and did a whole history thing and found stuff about their thing and then brought them back and showed them. So that was really cool. So anyways, but there is things that she is doing that seem to be really negative, but it has a positive thing that comes from it. Like, there was other things besides just bringing people together on a common note or a common thread to agree on something. So, people are very, because most adults have either know somebody or somebody's been in their family. They have some experience with domestic violence. They've seen it. It has touched them closely within I don't know, 1 degree, 2 degrees. And so everybody has some kind of an experience where they have, either seen somebody who has been, or has somebody that they've tried to help them get out of it or whatever. And so people feel strong about it. And people, like, people know, like, how hard it is. Like, if you are trying to help somebody to break free, how hard it is. And it's so much manipulation and toxicity in these relationships. And so, and you can't break somebody free. You can't, you can be there for somebody as they break themselves free, but it's so complicated because it's so intertwined, built on your own insecurities. And all these things, like, are meant to happen. Like, they're meant to happen because it brings these things to the surface so you can purge them out and heal them and stuff. And so, and it's weird because I know so many people think, like, well, I would never come in and choose a life of being abused. But that's not how you look at it when you're a soul. You don't look at it as like, I'm coming and choosing a life to be abused. It's like you look at it as like you are looking at an experience, and you are looking at it through like a scope, a magnifying glass, to the point where you can put yourself into the experience so that you can feel what would this experience feel like. And it's and you learn from being able to put yourself into an experience. And so anyways, that's a part of it. That's part of why we do it. And we don't look at it like how people think, because people are like, well, I wouldn't go in and just be murdered. Well, I wouldn't go in and just do that. Well, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, but you would, because that's what's going on around us. And these are all souls, and everything happens for a reason, and everything is set. It's like, and you aren't forced here. No matter how many people feel like, well, I'm forced here. To me, that's also a stage of development. You got to let go of that idea of somebody is forcing you into doing something you don't want to do. I don't know where it comes from. So you would have to, go into you and find where it comes from. But the things going on that bring it up are the things that are there meant to bring it up, so you have an awareness of it, so you can work on it, so you can try and understand it, so you can heal it. So all the things that come up, they're all there for you to be able to purge them out. But it is trippy when you see these things happening and it seems like it's all so negative. But then when you look at what's really happening is bringing people together. And another thing too that I kind of thought was interesting, which I don't know because I'm not paying any attention to the politics things, but what is so wild to me is ever since, they had that big thing, oh, Joe's dead, Joe's dead. And the news was like, we want to see signs of life. You bring him out here. And there was all this stuff. I think there was some senators or whoever. It was all these people saying that he had gotten sick. He had canceled his thing. They think he died. And he's not been seen since this whole incident, blah, 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 blah. And then they start saying, we want signs of life, we want signs of life. So they make this whole big thing going. And then he comes out and he's 2 inches taller or something, which I think the original guy is like 5'11" or 6 foot. So even when he jumped up to be in Jim Carrey, which I think Dana Carvey is more like 5'9" or 5'10". So I think when Dana Carvey, because I think Dana Carvey's playing him too. I think that there's several people, but because that one thing where I saw Dana Carvey being in an interview and he went into a Joe Biden little thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's playing him. That is what Joe does sometimes. It's him. And so he so I think he's one of the players. I think it's probably a lot of comedians. I don't know. But because you got to have like some humor about that. Like when you're making fun of somebody, you'd have to really understand how rotten this person is to go in and just like destroy his character. But he destroyed it himself. This is just the scene. I mean, it wasn't like he destroyed his character. He didn't really have no integrity. I just didn't really care. Just these souls that are so self-indulgent, so self, so ego-driven that they have they got issues. So anyways, so he had they wanted signs of life, and so he comes back out, all of a sudden comes walking out, and they're like, he's way taller. Well, I thought when they had Jim Carrey playing him, he was taller. Because I was always noticing like the people he would be standing around. I would try and figure out who's in the mask. Was it somebody who was shorter or taller? And then there was also supposedly this actor that they said was playing him, but maybe he played him in the beginning or something. I don't know. I think it's weird too, whatever they do with the voice. How did they do that with the voice? Does it come through the microphone? Do they do some kind of a voice thing? Because they do have all this stuff with AI. They've got so much weird shit with AI now. It's so weird. So anyways, then they had the big giant guy come out, and everybody was saying that's Pete Davidson, because he's like 6'3", so he's even taller. And I think I don't know. You have to see people next to each other. That's the thing that's always so trippy, is like you don't know until you are like, especially with the illusion of TV. Like they always were making people look shorter and taller and all that stuff. So anyways, and so you don't know, like, if Adam Driver and Pete Davidson and Jim Carrey and, whatever, all the different tall actors were standing next to each other, but anyways, how many ever people are playing the guy that when they did that whole thing about signs of life, and I said, watch, he's going to come out, he's going to be something that's going to be different, and everybody's going to be saying, I was like, I thought it was going to be so absurd, they'd have him out there with brown hands or something, but whatever they do, and whatever, it's all to get people to wake up. And so, and then so many people just stay stuck in arguing about, especially with politics, all this stuff. Like the people just keep themselves divided and arguing. It's so absurd. And because you got to notice, like, what is the point of this? And these people are not going to solve anything. Okay, so, ever since then, though, ever since we have not seen any signs of Joe, and nobody has even said shit about it. And they keep talking about, these other people, but nobody is even saying anything about this guy. It's like, well, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, it's just so ridiculous. And then, what was the other thing? That was something else that was like tapping away when I was trying to say that. I was like, oh yeah, I want to say that. And there's another person who is oh yeah. Okay. So on the politic thing. So Donald's out there just rallying it up. And I swear to God, a part of that is to show the support, to get people to go more of like, well, all these people like him for a reason. But even though the news keeps trying to make like these people are all psycho Christians and they just want God to be in control or whatever, all this absurdity. And so there was something though that I saw him saying for a minute, because there's people who keep sharing these videos. I saw him say something for a minute, and I was like, see, I swear to God that this is a part of, for him to say super extreme things, is so the people who just are willing to just follow him off the cliff, they stop and go like, well, I don't know about that. Well, I like him on these things, but I don't know about that. It's to get people to get more rational. You got to think for yourself. You can't just be like, whatever this person does or says is this the right thing. I'm just doing whatever. I'm just going with everything they say. No. So he says he's wackadoo shit sometimes, I think, to get people. And then you still have people who are just like, well, he's the best thing that ever happened. Yeah, he is. But you got to put it into like a reference thing. Like he's himself. He's his own person, and he is playing a role. And his role is to get people to get their attention. It's like he's a giant lure to get your attention over here, over here. And then, all these things play out so that people become like, what? Because it's all of this, everything is about the awakening. Everything, and more stuff I see. Like, I get confirmation all the time on things I say. I mean, everything is about this awakening. It's about this part of you becoming your best version of yourself. And the people who aren't on that, those people, there's lots of souls doing a lot of different things. So, I know I'm only talking to some. I'm not talking to everyone, because some are here, everybody's here to just play out their stuff. But one thing that is going on right now is this time of change. And so what I was seeing was like, is energy. And so let's say, okay, I was seeing all these visuals. So I'm trying to explain like a visual. So you have a certain group of people, and so me included. So you have a certain group of people, and they can see things and understand the the world outside of the world they're showing you. So there's a world that they show you that people get all trapped up in and caught up in all the drama and stuff, and then there's this other world. And so that other world speaks to us, and it shows us, it drives us, and all that stuff. So there's this separation in these two worlds. And so you have these people who are aware of this world, but it's like outside of the glass. Like I was seeing it also, like if you've ever seen that game where those people get in those big giant plastic balls and they go inside of them, which that's kind of creepy too. Like you'd think like people would suffocate or something. I don't know. That seems kind of creepy. But anyways, they get in these big balls, and so then they're inside the balls. So there's a barrier, and um, and so I was seeing the people in there in the world being outside of them, and them not being able to touch it, and it being, but it's still being there, like knowing it's there. So, and then also, if you think of it as like another thing of like a glass, like a glass around you, like this energy around you, it's like holds you into this reality that is artificial, but you can see this other one that is real. You can feel it. Maybe you can't see it, but you can feel it. Like you have a certain inner knowing, and you can see, well, I think you can see things that, plus I've been seeing so much stuff, like, fuck, there's so much stuff. But, so you can see this other world, or you can sense this other world, or this other thing. And so there's like, these souls, these way showers or whatever, that, they're pushing up against the glass. So everything is them pushing up against the glass, because they can see something different that everybody else can't see. And so they're pushing and pushing and pushing. We're pushing and pushing and pushing for change, for something to go a different direction. And we're pushing on this energetically. And so, and I know there's a lot of people in this, like, it's like, what is that called? Hold the wall, like I'm, like all these like soldiers, hold the line. Okay, so yeah, all these people energetically holding the line, pushing and pushing on this energy of change, pushing it to push out, and knowing that on the other side that is going to be this, like, it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be all the things that you feel inside of you, but you got to push through to get there. You got to push through your beliefs, push through your inner knowing and stuff. And so there's a lot of us, and there's so much of a resistance. Like, we're pushing so hard on this temperaments of change, which I don't know, temperaments, like, I don't know, because kind of like tempered glass steel, like, I don't know. But anyways, so we're pushing on this this energetically to change, and pushing through with our trust. And at this point, it's pushed us beyond being comfortable. But that is, see, that's the thing. And so when you think about that, how far you can be pushed is like, it's weird, because it's like every time is pushing you a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further. So when you can see how far you can be pushed, then it's like, fuck, man. And then you see what's going on with other people, and they, you know, they don't believe in it. No, they don't even believe in this. They don't believe in that. No, that's not real. This isn't real. Like, and so, so it's like, there is like this certain group that is like another level of understand, like it's like a certain group that is like the warriors, the way showers, or whatever. This is a real thing that is pushing this energy to go the other direction. And so what they're pushing it is in their inner belief in themselves of things getting better and going good. And then plus, like, I think we all have like an inner vision. And so pushing through to get to that inner vision, and for it to be such a long, drug out and hard push, that is the challenge. That is like, because when it flips, when it goes, is going to, that is where it's going to be almost like the people who were pushing, how it's going to be like an undertow of energy that's going to propel them. So it's going to be like, woo, but it's going to pull them up. And that is going to be where, that is going to be the shift, where everybody is like, well, I want to go in that direction. Like, what the fuck are we doing over here? Let's go that way. So it's going to be this big change that is going to occur in a lot of in the energetic field, that and it's not because these people are better or whatever. It's all roles. It's all this thing to play out. But this is how it's going to shift directions. It's because there's people who are already pushing for that direction. So there's like a huge energetic surge pushing towards that direction. And then the more people that we get to see and focus, that's the more drive, the more people that push and push and push. But there's definitely some that have been pushed, way past what it seems reasonable. Like, where it's like, you think like things are going to change sooner and sooner, and it goes and goes and goes, and you got to build your trust. Like, okay, just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. And so those challenges, and that's why I said everybody's here on different levels. Whatever anybody's working on is what they're here to work on. And you don't need to worry about what that person's working on, because you need to worry about what you're working on, because it's all, it's set. Your study plan was prepared for you before you came in. So you don't want to be looking at a level that seems like they got something good going on over there. I'd rather be doing that. No, you have your own thing. And if it's in a time where it's kind of a lull, that's a time of rest. That's a time of be prepared, because there's more coming. Don't ever think like, oh, well, now it's all over and now I'm all done and I'm all healed. Everything's great. Because that is a part of expectation that really disappoints a lot of people. When the next thing hits, they're just like, comes in and they're shocked. Like, I thought I was all healed. And a lot of times people just start getting so triggered by other people, like, oh my God, that's so irritating. They're such an asshole. They're this, they're that. And like, I've had some encounters lately. It's just like, man, shit is getting weird. Like, fuck. And you just gotta, people are, but one thing is important is you gotta be real. You gotta be honest, and it's difficult, like, because everything is like you're shooting from the hip. Like, it's just like and your automatic responses too, are always so you can see yourself. So don't get all hard on yourself. Though, just be, more with the flow of just trying to understand yourself. You're just trying to get a good look at yourself, because you really can't know yourself if you aren't willing to see yourself. You have to really look at, the deep sides of yourself. That is why I think it's so, so many people are so fake and phony, and they don't even realize they're fake and phony. They think that this is who they are, but they don't realize they're putting on a persona of protection, like a mask, a thing that you think that other people will accept. But when you're doing that, is because you are judging yourself, because you think you're not good enough. You think you're, whatever the case may be, whatever it is that you're hard on yourself, which can be so many different things. I mean, so many different things. We can be disappointed in ourselves. What was that one? I just saw this one that was strange over something about looks. I don't know if I can see it clearly because I have a whole bunch of ones coming in. It is I can't. It is it's important to just, learn to, I don't know, it's like you got to learn to love yourself, and then to it's weird, because like you have all these people, and everybody wants to be good looking. Everybody wants to be good looking, rich, have it all. And people go under the knife. Oh yeah, this one. Okay. Yeah, this one I had just seen, because this girl, she had this big curly hair. Like, she had kind of like a soft afro kind of hair. And only she was a lighter skinned person. And she had this big hair. And she said she was in the store getting something, and she heard some woman talking about her, and not talking to her, but talking about her to her friend. Like, oh, so is big 80s hair back now? Like, people are so fucking rude and snippy. It's like, oh, God damn, people. it was just like, oh, I've got nothing nice to say, so I'm just going to be hateful. It's like, well, you're putting out hateful energy, so what do you think's coming back on you? And so so the girl, she was saying, said that happened. And then she said, she was like, cool, I hope, come on, people, let's bring back the 80s hair, because this is my hair naturally. This is what I have going on. So there's nothing I could do about it. So let's bring on the 80s hair. And it was just like, that's the problem with trends, is because yeah, it covers it with these girls that have like big hair, but people like me, or you got to tease the fuck out of your hair, you got to spray it. I was thinking about this the other day, because there was even a part back in it was back when I was still working in the doctor's offices, and I was working with this girl named Susan, and I was working in, I think it was a plastic surgeon's office then too, but we worked at this doctor's office together. Because after my court thing, I lost my office manager job. I wasn't there enough. He needed somebody else because I was having just ordeals. Like, it was, once I had decided to leave the first guy who wanted to murder me, then and that didn't stop him leaving him. Like, he was showing up at my house. So but I went to work for this plastic surgeon. I just remember Susan would always be like, "Hey, you need to brush your hair." And I would just, because my hair would get really tangly when I would sleep, but it would make it more puffy. So I'm like, I'm just leaving it. It's like, what is teasing it? It's just ratting it. It's making it do the same thing. So I just leave it. And she would say something. It just seems so funny when you look back at yourself sometimes. It's just like, but everybody had this big hair. I even had my hair permed a couple times. And, but when you don't have big hair, and you have, flat hair, you need the periods of times when that hair is in style. But what was getting me was like, we just have to go with our own hair. Like, setting trends and thinking we all have to change ourselves so that we can try and look like somebody else is really absurd. We got to just love our own hair. We don't have to follow a trend. Like, if you've got big hair, wear your hair big. If you have flat hair, wear your hair flat. We just shouldn't be having to change ourselves so much to be happy. Like, why is it that we feel that we need to change ourselves in order to be happy? We need to put on a whole shit ton of makeup. We need to put on, different hair. We have all these different things. And because I now have this other thing coming into my head. So, okay, guys, something with bodies and food and people hating themselves. And food is, kind of abuse, a way to abuse yourself in a lot of ways, It's such a toxic stuff around food, and so many people hate themselves and punish themselves over even getting hungry. And I just think it's just, there's those kinds of things when, all the things that have these emotions attached to them all have things that, like, to go in deeper, to go in and heal. That's why I said, like, your physicality is a representation of what you're here to work on. You just got to go in deeper of how you feel about it. And when you are mad at yourself about food and stuff, there's something that you feel you're out of control. There's something inside of you that you're not doing. That's why you're feeling so stressed and mad at yourself. It's not just about the food or whatever. You are mad at yourself because you are doing something that you shouldn't be doing, or you could do better, and then you don't want anybody to point it out because you just want to go the easy way. Just eat some stuff every time you get hungry. Don't ever push yourself, because there is more and more and more that I keep seeing about this fasting thing. And like we should actually be living our lives in more of a fast and not just eating all the time. And but when you think about it, throughout the periods of history, food wasn't just so available. And then when food became so available, the gluttony side of humanity really came out, and this consumption and just, eating beyond. One thing too is that for me, my own self, is I try to not ever eat past being full. And so as soon as I start feeling like I'm going to be full, and there's another thing too, supposedly, about eating with your hands, which I eat it with my hands a lot, but eating with your hands and not with utensils, it has more of this natural way of you knowing when your body has had enough. Like there's sensors and stuff. And that is one reason why people overeat, apparently, is because the fork denies them these sensors. And so a lot of people can find themselves overeating and then find themselves in a very uncomfortable position with their stomach and being over full. So, anyways, about I try to not ever eat past that, is think about it too, because that is constantly stretching your stomach out. So you're constantly stretching your stomach, and then you need more to fill it up. So you're better off keeping your stomach in a smaller place, you don't need a whole lot. Like I can eat a handful of food and feel good for hours. And like I said, for me, like I do more of that intermittent fasting. I eat more in the morning time as the sun's coming up, and as the day is winding down, I don't eat so much like that. But throughout the day, I do all movement. Like you have to do movement throughout the day, to keep your body going. Because you got to think about energy begets energy. And if you're just sitting all the time, like you probably are going to get hungrier because you're not doing enough stuff. Like if you're at a job, say, and it's like tedious as fuck. Like I've been there, I know, fucking 8 hours sitting at a goddamn desk, and then and a lot of people have snacks and stuff in their drawers and stuff. So instead of just, indulging in the snacks that are going to just haunt you later when you're trying to, zip up your jeans, is, take a couple of little weights to work. And every time you want to have a snack, jump up and do some little exercise, and that will probably take away that kind of hunger kind of thing, is that can be out of boredom. That's one thing that you got to recognize, is that this is something they talked about in nursing school, was about what is it called, appetite and hunger. And so many people have a hunger when they aren't even really hungry. With their appetite, it's like it's driving them. So you have this drive to eat even when you're not hungry, and that is where you got to kind of get more refined. You got to look at yourself more, of like, why am I eating? Am I eating to comfort myself? Is there something I'm not dealing with? Am I trying to make myself feel better? And then and I say enjoy all the different kinds of things that you enjoy, but you just have to probably have less of it. So, and we're in a very indulgent society where it's, supersize it. And like I said, you go to restaurants, or some restaurants that bring out, several plates of food for you. And and then there's other ones that bring out like little tiny, I think, and I was disgusted by the little tiny food too. Like I was, used to going to Mexican restaurants, like where they definitely bring out platters. And then all of a sudden it made this shift into this little tiny decorative food. And you go to a restaurant and they bring you out this tiny plate with this tiny little thing for $50. And it's like, that's some nonsense. So like there's there's a more fit thing. Like I did think it was kind of cool though when I was in Spain, in the tapas, like all these little food, these little healthy snack things, which I was like, yeah, I eat them, like, but I think you're not supposed to eat like tons of them, but I think that's a better way of eating though, is just eating small food and not eating a whole bunch, not thinking like a platter of food is what you need to survive, to get more of like, what do I really need? Because we're going to, like, there's going to keep being these shifts, and I don't know how it's all going to go down or play out. You know, I mean, it makes me kind of like, ugh. Because there's no way I'm going out and having chickens and killing chickens to make dog food. Like, the dogs are going to have to get into eating vegetables and beans. And then I don't even know, like, how is it going to keep going? Like, how it's going to keep going with the food thing. Because there is this sense, and I've seen other people now also talking more about this, going from uh, carbon-based to crystalline, that's what we're doing. We're changing into this crystalline base thing. But whatever we're changing into, it's changing away from this concept of flesh and blood and more into this other state of being, which this other state of being is part that we're evolving into. I don't know that it's going to need so much food, because that was something that I had just started recognizing through all of this healing and awakening, was this changing in the way of looking at food and seeing it very much as like, like energy, like gas or something. And then you start really looking at it different too, like, taking dead energy, like killing animals to take their energy, to create energy in us. Like that is very toxic. That is very, like, no wonder that fucking Finkelstein's laughing about that, fucking weirdo. But yeah, uh, yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of things, when the more you get in touch with your soul, the more you look at things in such an expansive manner, that everything just becomes so much bigger. And you just don't look at things the same way you did. But that, just because you look at it a certain way today, doesn't mean you're going to look at it the same way tomorrow. Like, we're in this movement, we're in this flow of change. And so that is why you don't have to get all caught up or argue with people or whatever. You just keep going with the flow. Keep understanding yourself as you are changing, and you're being directed by this internal guidance. That is what is, it's giving you structure and purpose. It's giving you uh, a sense of self. But ourselves have, work that needs to be done on them too, because of our own attitudes and stuff. And that's where we can recognize what it is that we need to work on, is through our own attitude. Like, where we find ourselves as being in a dark attitude, or negative, or hateful, or victim, or whatever it is, that to try and figure out how we get out of that mindset, how we get ourselves to look at things differently. Because that is where we become a different person, is when we start looking at things differently. Because when I was back in victim, I was a victim. Like, if I was sitting here, like, we would be, if I could have the old me and the new me, it would be very different, two different people. Because I was very much like, beat down, poor me, I can't pick somebody. Like, there was a lot of confusion at different times of, especially evolved around love, because I kept thinking, like I said, I believe I'm here for a warrior of love. Like, my name is Warrior of Love, like Kelly Hart. And so I had to go through a lot of different learning about love, and it was rough. And that's where I said, like, from the time I was little, I was shown that there was this, profound love that I would have, but I was going to be older. And so, going through all of those other relationships when I was younger, and thinking that those were love, like, go into it, like I said, it's like the story of, are you my mother? Are you my mother? Are you my mother? Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And seeing that, no, all these people are out there trying to find love for themselves. They're trying to find somebody to make them feel better. They're trying to find somebody that's going to lick their wounds. And so we're all out there, in this toxic environment, trying to find somebody to make us feel better. Because, but the whole thing is you start feeling better when you prioritize you. And there is such a breaking free, because, your job takes from you. Like, you just think about that. How many hours of your time. Like, what is your time worth? What is the value of you being alive in a small amount of a window of time? And the value of that, and how it's sold to these people. Like, you sell your time for, nothing. Like, at one point, at one point my time was worth $1.65 an hour. At my, the end of my career, was like $30 an hour. Or when I was traveling nursing, it was closer to $60 an hour. And so you you make these trades, and then see, we get into this drive of being able to go out and better ourselves, our education, so we can make more money. But it's all this selling our time, giving our time away, and our time has so much more value. Your time has, it's priceless, and they keep wanting to put a price on it, but it's like, where do you put a price on it? Because there's people out there killing themselves over $10 an hour, and the thing is like, we can't have a world where, nobody's working, because I think most of us have a drive of wanting to do something. I think some of the people who don't, it's because they're just in a depressed state, because I think most of us want to make things and do things and create things, and we want to have money. We want to feel like we have value. We want to feel like we're important to somebody. And so but we have to prioritize ourselves. And that is where you got to build your skills, not just like, your education, where they say, well, we'll pay you more if you go spend some more time in school, is to value your skills, to find things that you're good at. And because we're all good at different things, and things that I'm not good at, yeah, I need I need to pay somebody to come do things I'm not good at. And so, like my son-in-law, he's going to come, he's supposed to be coming in a couple weeks, I think, and we're going to do the roof on that house. But I've got so many jobs. I'm hoping that the whole thing crashes before he gets here, and start having him do all this stuff, which is also, I've got to just, yeah, well, maybe that's what I want, but I got to also see what the universe is, because, I don't know if, right now there's so much activity in the Cascadia fault line. There's so much activity, and I keep feeling different shaking and vibration and stuff, where it's trippy, like where you're sitting there and it's just like, man, feels like right now the ground feels like it's vibrating. But there's a whole bunch of activity in the Cascadia fault line. There's a whole bunch, and there's so much. These people who are watching the earthquakes and doing these maps, there's so much. Oh yeah, and speaking of maps, this guy had a map of what was it? It was an old map. Oh yeah, this Bermuda guy who just did a video, and he was talking about the people in Bermuda know where Atlantis is, and they know, like, the people in Bermuda know a lot of stuff. And so he was doing this video talking about that. And then in the video, in the comments, all the people are like, oh my God, Bermuda guys are so hot. Yeah, he was good looking. He looks like kind of a tribal kind of guy. And that is this, like, I don't know. I think that we have like a primitive side of ourselves that is like, oh yeah. But there's, but that's where they try and get us all off like this, like these aristocrats are so cringy. But more of this cultural, deeper side of us. But anyways, that's all the things in his comments was all about. I was just like, man. But in another map that I had seen another guy showing, which I can't remember what he was showing on what he was talking about this map for, but he said that he put it over the Mississippi because it's supposed to be this, oh yeah, okay, so it was a book. It was a book written in like 1994 or 96 or something. Some about the Bible. It had a bunch of stuff about the Bible or whatever. And it had a map in it. And in the map, it was supposed to be showing how the mass exodus, whatever, the Christians or the Jews or whatever, when they left Israel or something. I'm not sure what he was saying. I could share the video. But he the route that they went, and so he put that over the map over by the Mississippi, and it was showing like the same, like and it has all these same words. There's a whole bunch of people that keep trying to make the thing that we're really Egypt. What they told us was Egypt. This is Egypt. And but everything is just words and names and stuff. So, you know, but if this is where the people started originally, but there's been a whole bunch of different, you know, movement throughout these different realities. And like I said before, there's different planes of existence where there's been different land masses, and they'll retreat. It's like a retreat and then come up. Ooh, I bet you, yeah. Oh, yeah, because of Atlantis, because supposedly Atlantis is going to come back up. That's what was really interesting when that guy was like, because I used to be totally freaked by Bermuda Triangle. And then somebody's like, you don't live in Bermuda. So he showed the Google Earth thing, and it went over, and Bermuda's this little tiny island out there. And I just remember the Bermuda Triangle I was just so amazed by that when I was a kid. Like, what the fuck? And in Atlantis and stuff. But supposedly they're supposed to be, because in the Doomsday Map, I think it is that it has Atlantis. And it's out there in between Bermuda and Florida, kind of. And so there will be these land masses, like I said, these planes of existence that recede, and then other ones come up, like stages. Like think of it as stages of planes of existence for all the souls to come in and play out different storylines and different realities. And so you have these land masses here, but then they recede as another one comes up. But we're going to have some that are going to come back up. Atlantis, that would be a really interesting one, because when they come back up, that is where I think a lot of people are going to go and start looking in more about our history. But the thing is, it's going to come out with our history is that, like what I keep saying, it isn't just this linear thing. It is all these different planes of existence. It's all a lot more spiritual and soul stuff than what we would think. But it is because we are so entrapped in this realm of existence that is very controlled and trying to get us to see differently and think differently, which we did. Like I'm still like, you know, every time I think about, like when I feel the scar on my stomach, and I'm having this weird fucking thing with my belly button. Like, what the fuck? When I was a kid, I had an outie belly button. Like, it was really outie. It was like embarrassing outie. And then once I had kids and my stomach had stretched out and went back, my belly button kind of sunk in, and you couldn't see it so much. And then I've had these surgeries. So I've had 4 pregnancies, and then I've had these surgeries, which the hysterectomy, I had to have 2 hysterectomies because they didn't fucking do it all on the first one. And then he did all this weird shit, like there was holes and stuff. Like it was a whole ordeal. And when I went back in, I was like having so much pain, and they were like, well, you have a big giant cyst. Well, we were supposed to take my ovaries out, remember? Because that was the problem with all my ovaries, just gross cysts all over them. And I had this giant ass cyst, this big blood one. I had to stay in bed for a few days or something while this thing went away. And then but I was having so many problems, and then they had to go in and do another surgery. Then they took out my tubes and all of that. It was before he just took out my uterus. Then he took out that stuff, but he found that there was like where they didn't sew it up before the first one. There was holes and shit. So it was like a repair job that had to be done. And when you had like that kind of thing, and then you're like feeling scars in you, and so it's like, I bet you I have a shit ton of repairs that need to be done in there. Like, these people are sloppy. They're sloppy inside of us. They don't give a fuck. And so the so anyways, I had and that was the C-section scar that they used. So 3 times for sure that I know of that they have cut through my C-section scar, which it has like this scar tissue all behind it. And so then my belly button, they used that to go through several times to do scoping. So they go in and they look around in there. They go through your belly button. And so they jacked up through there. And now it's just so weird when, it's like not flesh and blood, but then there's effects like there's flesh and blood. And so tearing through that muscle. And so now I'm like, I don't know, there's something weird next to my belly button. And what's even weirder is that is where my birthmark is. So that is where I keep doing these things like trying to release and heal and be ready to take in the information because there's something I'm holding on to, I think, in this area. And so I have that going on. And then up above where my gallbladder was taken out, that was a one-time cut, but it was a big cut. It was when they used to do it big. And then right above that now, I have the explant scars. This is just like, fuck, man. And so I'm trying to rebuild all these muscles and put strength back into my core. And it frustrates me, I let him even cut into me. But the thing is it wasn't like, that wasn't the loud thing that I was hearing. Don't do it, because you're supposed to do some of the things because it's the aftermath is what you're here to deal with. You're here to see yourself and understand yourself and stuff. So, not all things are just completely clear all the time, but you just have to, like I said, you just got to go with the flow and things become more clear. Like you'll go through parts that are very dark and you can't see through the water. And then you get to other parts where you have great clarity. You can see everything down to the bottom. So you just stay going with the flow, even when it's like, man, this isn't working. Like, I don't understand myself any better today. But you just gotta just keep going. Don't give up on yourself, as you really will find, that it's like the person who your old self was sitting here, it would definitely be two different characters, as you really do. It's not like your old self is your bad self or something, but it's the side of yourself that was real caught up in some shit. It didn't understand themselves. Like you really do work to get yourself into a place to love yourself. Because what's it all about is learn how to love yourself, to love everyone, and how to have a loving day. So talk to you later.